Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion by the women rep of Laikipia on management of the costs of electricity in this country. It is only in Kenya, I think, that we have beaten the law of demand and supply. Anybody would imagine that if there's a high supply and low demand, the price then would be lower. Or if there's high demand and low supply, the price would be up. To trace my steps, by 2017, the country was producing 2,300 megawatts. Currently, we are producing 2,900 megawatts. Consumption of power in 2017, in the evening when Mama Mboga was cooking, was 1757. Currently, the consumption has grown to 2243. What does that tell us? It tells us that the consumption or absorption of power by ordinary citizen is growing. And if we don't check, we may end up where we have more demand than supply. I think Kenya Power needs to wake up. And the government needs to put its foot down to restructure Kenya Power so that it meets the needs of the citizenry. For the last 4 years, Kenya Power has had 4 different managing directors. That should tell us something. That should tell us that the ministry either was sleeping on the job or there are a lot of politics in the management of Kenya Power. And the last exit at Kenya Power, the chair of Kenya Power, the lady who left, we raised it in our committee. There was a conflict of interest. She was the Director General of EADB.
But are you going to be discussing the DG of EADB, or do you want to make a contribution?
I want to relate an event in Turkana wind power and EADB.
I would suggest you don't go along that way, because you'll be discussing a member, a Kenyan who is a CEO of a regional institution, without giving her a chance to respond. So I would suggest you go a different way.
Mr. Speaker, what I was going to mention is that EADB financed the Turkana Power. As a committee, when we went to Turkana Power, they were not ready then. But somebody in the ministry forced their way, and 9 billion Kenya shillings was paid for free. So even as we talk about the price of power in this country, we need to look at other players in the market who are actually stealing public money. Until we wake up as members of parliament and we say no to theft of public funds, then we can be talking about how to improve on the pricing of Kenya Power. Right now, we have the lifeline tariff. In the lifeline tariff, the charges is 12 shillings per kilowatt hour. If you look at the 12 shillings per kilowatt hour, which is given, if you look at the composition, the taxes are 56%. What does that tell us? It means the citizenry is paying a lot of tax. For example, on that tax, we have a Warma tax. Warma is charging for the hydro stations 50 cents per kilowatt hour. EPRA is charging 0.2 cents per kilowatt hour. I think it's important that this motion that the Honorable Kagiri has brought should help us as a committee in energy to go deep into inquiry on how best we can moderate the taxes so that the citizenry can enjoy supply. But the good news is that the country in the next, hopefully in the next 10 years, should be able to have a nuclear plant in Mombasa. If we have a nuclear plant, we'll be able to produce 4,000 megawatts, which would then put us in a foothold as an industrial nation. Right now, if you talk about having every household have electricity, it's not going to be possible. It will be a question like what has happened in South Africa, where there's a law that all the citizens will be supplied with power. But now, there's rationing. Each citizen gets 3 hours per day of that power. So it's important that even as we do the inquiry, we should be proactive in planning as a country on our needs for the megawatts that we need into the future. But more importantly, the variance between 2247 that is consumed every day and 2900 megawatts that is produced, we should be able to use the existence of that 600 megawatts to power our factories at night, and ensure that if we power our factories at night, we can play with the pricing index and reduce the cost of electricity to citizenry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.